Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Maqbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the current political situation in light of the upcoming general elections and what is going on with the various political parties and the Election Commission of Pakistan, and also the role of judiciary in certain matters. In a number of cases and legal developments, we have seen that the ECP has indicted the former PTI chairman and the former PTI leader Fawad Chaudhry in contempt case, the hearing of which has been adjourned till the 16th of January. And this is something that, of course, the ECP was looking into previously as well with regards to what the party leaders have mentioned in various political gatherings and the language that has been used. And, of course, something over which the matter of jurisdiction was also under debate previously, with the Supreme Court saying that the ECP does indeed have the jurisdiction over the matter. And so the proceedings were started again. And in the charge sheet that was given today, the two leaders have been indicted by the ECP. So this, of course, is going to be a development that will be taking place over the next days and weeks. At the same time, we also know that the very important decision with regards to whether or not the PTI will be able to contest with its bat symbol is again under scrutiny in terms of what really is going to be the future course of action. Earlier, the PTI had moved the Peshawar High Court, which had put a stay order on the earlier decision by the ECP, which has now been withdrawn by the Peshawar High Court, and it had announced its reserved verdict regarding the election symbol for PTI and the intra-party elections, accepting the ECP's plea and withdrawing the stay order earlier, which means that as of now, the PTI's symbol bat is no longer theirs, and the ECP's earlier decision stands. So we're going to be taking a look at what this means, especially in terms of how exactly will this be processed. What exactly will happen with the ECP moving forward in this particular case? A number of proposals have also been put forward by the Commission. And then, of course, the PTI has also said that it's going to be moving the Supreme Court on the matter and will be making sure that they actually appeal in the Supreme Court. At the same time, they say that if their case is not heard in the Supreme Court as well, then they're going to be contesting the elections as independent candidates, and, of course, are confident that they will do so and still succeed without the symbol as well. However, of course, much of that remains to be seen as to how exactly will that happen. Another development with regards to different cases is also the way that the Chief Justice of Pakistan has looked into the case regarding level playing field, something that is off-sided by various political parties, and has said that the court is standing behind every political party in the upcoming general elections, hearing the PTI's contempt plea against ECP, where the PTI had stated that the ECP violated the earlier Supreme Court directives of December 22nd for a level playing field, in which, of course, the Supreme Court had directed ECP to address PTI's grievances. However, in the hearing that took place earlier today, it was also discussed that there had been an implementation report that was given by the ECP on December 26th, and the instructions given by the Supreme Court were to actually look into whether or not these directives have been met, and the case has been adjourned till 8th of Jan. A similar issue was also raised by the PTI with regards to level playing field, was that of the claim that more than 90% of the nomination papers of their leaders and their allies have been rejected, something that they also mentioned as part of the hearing today, and a number of aspects of that were also discussed. So we're going to be taking a look at all of these matters with regards to, of course, the way that we would be seeing things evolve in the coming days up to the elections, and then, of course, with the special focus on what this means for the PTI's future in contesting in these elections and what this means for the party. This is going to be our discussion today. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. We've been joined online also by our guests, Babar Yousafzai, who's Advocate Supreme Court, and Mr. Muneeb, Qadir, who's a political analyst and legal expert. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of the discussion today. And Muneeb, I'm going to start with you with reference to what is happening in terms of course, the various cases and legal developments that have been taking place. If we take a particular look first at the way that the bat symbol is being looked at by various quarters of how significant it is, of course, like any symbol for the party, but especially for the PTI. And now that we are at the point where the Peshawar High Court has withdrawn its earlier order. It's important to also mention that previously what the Peshawar High Court decided was, of course, rejected by certain quarters, criticized by certain quarters, and welcomed by others. And now it seems that that role has been reversed as well. But the question doesn't end here. This is just a stay order that has been withdrawn. I want you to also please explain to us what is left of this particular case, especially in terms of what the ECP can and will do moving forward, and then of course simultaneously the PTI going to the Supreme Court.
So last time when I was on a program, I had said already before the Peshawar High Court gave its 26th December verdict that it's the ECP's domain entirely to decide, whether the intra-party polls that were conducted by the PTI were in accordance with the constitution and their own constitution as well. And that's exactly what has been upheld by the Peshawar High Court today, albeit a bit too late. But the effect of the matter is that, Peshawar High Court's decision to grant interim relief to the to PTI in retaining the bat symbol now today was held to have been passed without providing any opportunity of hearing to the ECP. So that also rendered that Peshawar High Court decision, I think, erroneous. And also that PTI was trying to seek final relief, as far as the bat symbol question was concerned. And that is something that was not and is not within the Peshawar High Court's jurisdiction. Also, there's the problem of territorial jurisdiction, that the bat symbol is to be used nationwide, and there's Peshawar High Court which was allowing PTI to retain the bat symbol. So all of these factors put together meant that whatever relief PTI thought they had gotten, they've been deprived of that relief. And of course, they are now looking to, that's exactly what Barrister Gohar has said today, that they're now looking forward to going to the Supreme Court. But as you've mentioned, it's actually the Peshawar High Court which has to give a final ruling on the whole case. What they did on 22nd December was they just provided an interim relief. And now the time for that interim relief is over. So the original ECP decision still stands. But on the substance of the matter, that is something that is still reserved by the Peshawar High Court. And now we have to see what conclusions it comes to. But by and large, what the Peshawar High Court cannot do is it cannot decide the substantive aspects of the situation, because that is not something which comes within their judicial review jurisdiction. That is the ECP's domain.
Right. Muneeb Saab, thank you very much for this answer. It is illuminating. Help me understand the PTI's logic. Instead of just going to the courts and seeking such legal remedies, what is stopping them from holding another election within the party?
I think that the deadlines are approaching. So that's exactly what Sardar Lateef Khosa Saab said today in the Supreme Court as well, that there is a time limit as to, when you can appeal if your candidates are rejected or if you don't get your symbol. And I believe that the date for that is 9 January. So I think that they're running short of time. It's really a race against time for them.
Right. Yousafzai Saab, when we take a look at the situation, especially in terms of the way that the symbol is of utmost importance and time is also running short with regards to the elections, I want to understand then what sort of possibilities do you think exist, especially when this matter then goes to the Supreme Court, and the way that it is going to be tackled with, given the overall context of different situations that already exist between PTI and the ECP, and the number of other developments that have been taking place within the courts?
Well, thank you very much, Sana, for taking my point of view on this important matter. What happened today in the High Court, actually, previously, when the interim order was rendered, as rightly pointed out by Muneeb, that the Election Commission was not even put on notice. And there was an order which was rendered, and that was the main relief which was sought in that very case. So today and yesterday, when the Election Commission was arguing the case, they had rightly pointed out that in terms of this interim relief, that was their final relief. So let it be decided on 9th, and after 9th, if PTI or any of their ally is aggrieved of that order, they can rightly approach to the Supreme Court. Even at initial stage, when the order was given pertaining to their bat symbol by the Election Commission, they could have approached to the Islamabad High Court, or either they could straight away approach to the Supreme Court, because it is a federating order, and that order reflects throughout the whole country. So it could have rightly been taken to the Supreme Court for a decision from there on the verdict of the Election Commission, which was not opt at that time, and that had created a problem. Which need to be redressed, or maybe there is more hearing on 9.
Yousafzai Saab, by the looks of it, we can understand that the the lawyers from, PTI side, whenever we see them getting into any courts, it feels as if they are not prepared enough for their cases. First of all, this case, the way they have dealt in Peshawar High Court, one can really understand that the grounds they were doing it was merely on the compassionate grounds, rather than, they themselves know that they are the wrongdoers. Still they keep on going to the other courts, and now when they will be getting into Supreme Court, what kind of grounds you are expecting that they will be bringing in? Because in almost all of the cases which we are currently seeing them obviously contesting or fighting for in the Supreme Court, the basis of the cases, they are very poorly arranged by them. And if we get this case, getting into Supreme Court, what kind of grounds they will be bringing in, and will they be prepared this time?
And by the way, just to remind you of the question I put to Muneeb Saab as well, Yousafzai Saab, allow me to just add to the question. Regarding PTI, the kind of time it had on 22nd, why is it that it hasn't opted for revising the electoral process within the party and alleviating all the concerns that Election Commission had?
Well, the election law, which says that within 5 years, every political party has to have their inter-party election, which they had not conducted. And this time, when they were conducting this election, they have not given a right to their voters or their members to participate in that election. And straight away, they had bring up one panel that they had to be chosen as the chairman, or the remaining cabinet to be chosen from them, or they had already been chosen them. So their party member had approached the Election Commission that the election which was conducted by PTI was not in accordance with their constitution and the rules provided by the Election Commission of Pakistan. So even then, after that decision, they opt for different forum shopping. They approached to the Lahore High Court, approached here in Peshawar High Court, but they did not go to the Islamabad High Court and the Supreme Court. So this was like forum shopping which they have done, and they had got the relief initially here without even putting Election Commission on notice, and then eventually they have got the interim order which was reflecting towards their final order, and today it was recalled. Otherwise, they could have done that because enough time was given to them by the Election Commission. Even after completion of 5 years, they have almost completed 6 years without conducting the intra-party election, which is not provided by the law on the subject.
Yousafzai Saab, coming to my question, do you think that their legal teams, are they prepared enough when they get to any court? Because if we look at the grounds they take to Supreme Court, or be it Peshawar High Court, or be it Islamabad High Court, it feels as if they are not wholeheartedly trying to fight the case. It's just merely they just want the presence out there and for the political reasons.
Well, I cannot comment on their legal team. They have some good minds. They have some good lawyers. Even the current chairman which they had elected, which was then rejected by the Election Commission of Pakistan. He's a good lawyer and friend too. They have good minds, and they can comment on that. I cannot comment on their capability, that whether they are good enough to do or choose a forum or not. But I think it's the law, and the law will prevail. For that, they could choose better forum.
Right, Mr. Muneeb, I'd also like your opinion on how the jurisdiction of the ECB plays into this matter, and whether or not the banning of the PTI symbol was lawful as part of the jurisdiction of the ECB, and add to that the matter that is also being discussed with regards to the indictment of the former PTI chairman and the former PTI leader Fawad Chaudhry in the contempt case, because a lot of these matters have faced criticism, especially from PTI quarters, claiming that the ECB is moving beyond their jurisdictions, or that this is something that is being done in spite, so that this is a targeted approach towards the party. I'd like your comments on that, please.
So first of all, ECP's jurisdiction, as you've mentioned, now that is a task with which the ECP has been constitutionally entrusted. Every single provision of the constitution relates to the ECP's power, starting from Article 224 itself, which vests powers for conducting elections to the ECP, deciding whether intra-party polls had taken place within the requisite framework. That is something that is for the ECP to decide as a public body, and so you cannot substitute ECP's decision as to whether to grant a particular symbol to a political party or not. You cannot substitute that decision with that of a higher court in the manner that PTI was trying to seek. What PTI has been trying to do, and not just in the bat symbol case alone, but also the other much publicized case that took place today in the Supreme Court about level playing field. They are trying to test their luck in the courts, because they somehow have indicated that they have little faith in the ECP and in the ECP's ability to discharge its duties. But like I've said, it comes within the ECP's jurisdiction to decide these substantive questions of of whether intra-party polls have taken place lawfully, whether a party would be granted a particular symbol, and who according to them is to be accepted and rejected as far as the nomination papers are concerned. So you cannot get those decisions substituted by courts, and as my co-panelist has rightly put, you cannot go in for forum shopping. And that is what PTI and the council seems to be doing. Now, coming to the indictment of Mr. Imran Khan and Fawad Chaudhry Saab, so the thing with that is that both of them had used extremely derogatory language towards ECP back in the day in 2022, and this case is linked to that. They had undermined the authority of the ECP, or at least tried to do that. And when it was decided that, again, this was within the ECP's domain to determine whether contempt had been committed or not, now they have to face the music. And in Adiala jail, the hearing took place today, which has now been adjourned. But the thing is that it's a very serious violation of the law that when you have been asked to appear in front of the ECP and you're not appearing, you're again forum shopping. And that's exactly what the counsel for Fawad Chaudhry Saab, Imran Khan Saab did. They tried going to the Supreme Court and they tried to contest the ECP's decision to even serve them with a contempt notice. And they lost that. They lost in that. So after that, if the ECP has now decided that they would go ahead with indicting these two individuals whose political fate is right now very much hanging in the balance anyway, I think that it's a very bleak moment for all these PTI stalwarts or ex-PTI members. And especially for Fawad Chaudhry, one thing I have to add is that it's a bit confusing. One doesn't really know which party he belongs to right now because he's not a PTI member. What is he playing at, and who is he trying to trick here?
Right, absolutely, and that's an interesting point. And Faisal, I want to talk a little bit more about this also, especially in terms of the way that timing has played a huge part in different political aspects that we've discussed before as well. And while we talk about so many of these cases and the way, as Mr. Muneeb was also describing, this is a bleak moment for many PTI leaders, I want to understand then, given the current scenario and different ways of different courts and decisions moving forward, how is it then that the cumulative impact of all of these aspects that are affecting PTI is going to then also have an impact in the way that they're going to be looking at the transparency of the upcoming elections? Well, already, of course, they have cited their concerns. Already, they're talking about how it's not going to be fair if this or this happens, especially with regards to their symbol as well. And so I want to understand, when we take a look at all of this and the criticism that is coming in from PTI, how will then this proceed towards what we keep on talking about, what is heard in the Supreme Court today as well, in terms of the level playing field?
Excellent question, Sana. And of course, when we talk about PTI as a political party, of course, PTI itself knows that whatever is happening to them, there is a reason for it. And of course, if we talk about PTI since last year, since 2022, their stance, it was very aggressive stance, and one thing led to another. And of course, their aggressive stance made them stand somewhere where they shouldn't have been standing, and that is that going against the state itself and state's institutions and the foundation of the state itself, and they went against it. And of course, they were supposed to get what they were seeking for, and that is why they are getting it at this hour. It is understandable. I mean, if we talk about the analysts and if we talk about the legal analysts overall, they keep on highlighting this fact that maybe PTI is singled out and rest of the parties are not being brought into these sort of cases, and all of these cases are taking place against the PTI. They all need to understand that these are just because of the extraordinary steps which were taken by a political party called PTI, and of course them extraordinary actions which were taken by them, they were required to be stopped through extraordinary measures, and these extraordinary measures are still going on. And by the way, if we talk about all of the cases against them, if we just discuss the legal foundations of them cases, not a single case is there that can be considered that it is truly unlawful.
Right.
There are reasons behind them, and of course them cases are probable, and that is why they are being probed. And of course, if we talk about the political analysis from different corners, they would keep on talking about it in coming future as well, that somehow it can be considered as pre-poll rigging, but on the basis of what? On the basis of the actions which were taken initially by PTI themselves. And that is what they were reaping in shape of whatever they have been doing before. So to me, I think time will tell, but at the same time, we can say that before the elections, all of these things PTI has to clear before getting into election, and that is the only way for their political existence.
Right, and Farrukh, a number of these aspects were of course also discussed in terms of the level playing field case that was heard earlier as well, and the CJP has of course remarked that the courts are going to stand behind every political party and will be there for the level playing field. But in terms of what was discussed in the directives that was given earlier on December 22nd as well, it was also pointed out that the PTI doesn't perhaps have a specific complaint or a specific way forward in terms of what it is that we're looking at or terming it. So when we talk about the matters that are being discussed in the court in light of the level playing field, what exactly is it that the PTI really has as its grievance, and what exactly will be then the role that issues such as that of the rejection of many of their nomination papers, for example, or the indictment case or the bat symbol will have on the way that the level playing field will be considered by the PTI? How much of this assurance can then be given by ECP?
Right, Sana, thank you very much for the question. Allow me to actually add to this a little bit of comment regarding what was said earlier regarding Peshawar High Court's case as well, because that also involves Election Commission. So today, when Election Commission was heard, it was asked why is it that this stay actually harms your actions, or it actually creates problems for you. So Election Commission actually brought forward a list of other political parties that have been actually given the same punishment because of the same issue, right? Because they did not hold inter-party election, and because of this stay, their appeals and their own process was also being complicated. So this is a very clear case of a political party not listening to what was ordered by Election Commission or what is written in the law. You were repeatedly given opportunities to hold intra-party elections. You did not. In the end, again, when you went with one panel and you asked everybody to kiss their ring, then that is not democracy, right? It is akin to actually making light of the legal processes. So can you say that because of that you are not getting level playing field? Can you say that because you took some actions and after that as a consequence many people fled your party and you are no longer having the first pick of the harvest as candidates, that's why you are not getting level playing field? Or for that matter, the candidates you finally got actually are subprime. They don't have the kind of qualifications that would get them through the process. That is level playing field. Remember, you can always say that there are certain things that are being done wrong to you. You cannot say that because somebody else actually got some kind of relief, that's why you actually relaxed the law for me. You can ask legal authorities or ECP to punish them equally, but you can't actually seek relief. And when you talk about PTI, it is clear that this election that they recently conducted was actually not proper election. Where does it happen that you actually nominate one candidate and say that this person has to be elected, right?
Yeah.
This is not how democracies work. So my humble submission is that, the Supreme Court is correct that it is standing behind every political party, and it will, I'm sure. I have full faith in Qadir Faisal Saab and other judges. My concern right now is that these political parties keep on complicating because the environment is very polarized, Sana. They keep on actually muddying waters and they keep on claiming that elections are going to be somehow compromised. What will happen on the election day, after the election day? They will keep on, continue to cast aspersions. But the whole point is that as long as you have electoral process in the country, no election, nowhere in the world, Sana, is perfect, right? It has so many people actually coming out and voting, and complications do take place. Does that mean that all those elections are nullified or wrong? They are not. As long as the electoral process is continuing, Sana, people will keep on perfecting their choices, and the electoral authorities will keep on perfecting their procedures so that elections keep on getting better. You will hear a lot of people, a lot of commentary, a lot of editorials saying that somehow before the elections have been compromised. My humble submission is go back in time, go a couple of months before every election and see what was being written. Ditto. Every election were being questioned by some party, and that will continue to happen. Doesn't mean you have to stop the electoral process, does not mean that you have to lose faith in the process itself.
Right. Muneeb sahab, quick question to you. With regards to the issue of rejection of nomination papers of PTI and its allies, I want to understand how is it that this also factored in the hearing that took place with regards to the level playing field case with reference to what was also discussed in the hearing, that this matter already has a channel in terms of appeals or what the ECP can also take a look into. So why was this joined with the discussion today?
Yeah, so the Chief Justice Qazi Sahab, he was at pains to highlight the fact that there is a whole appeal mechanism available, that if you're not satisfied with the returning officer's decisions, as far as the nomination papers are concerned, you've got the election tribunal, you've got, the High Court under whose auspices the election tribunal is working. But, just to add briefly to what Mr. Pitafi said, I believe that PTI has been living in an echo chamber of its own, where they are suffering from this victim complex, that we are being victimized. And this was a very vague petition by the PTI that a level playing field needs to be ensured. I mean, how can they prove that a level playing field is not being ensured? And I think that the Chief Justice has just said today that political point scoring is not going to be allowed in the Supreme Court. And it's very, it's shocking almost that Mr. Lateef Khosa, he relied in his plea on social media posts to somehow cast aspersions on ECP and ECP officials and their motives behind rejecting the nomination papers of certain PTI candidates. And when he was asked by the Chief Justice that how many candidates have been accepted, their nomination papers, he did not have an answer for that. He was so ill-prepared. I think it's because of the leniency of previous Chief Justices that the PTI council and the legal team thought that they could just get away with anything. I don't know. And also, the Chief Justice wasn't very happy with as to why the IG Punjab and IG Sindh had been chosen to be respondents in the case. So I believe that the PTI's case is on very weak grounds, let alone level playing field, and it's going to get tougher and tougher for them, at least if they are going to try to score political points in the courts and in the apex court. I think it's tough luck for them.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Muneeb, for joining us and being a part of the discussion, and thank you, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, as always, for being part of the debate. Of course, we're going to be talking about the upcoming developments till the time of the elections and beyond that as well, and we will be here to discuss various developments as they take place. But that's all we have from today's show. We'll now see you tomorrow.